Give me a thumbs up for Mitch.
He's got it. All right, good evening, everybody. I'm going to call this meeting to order, July 20, 2023. If you'd join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Alderman Schuman.
Here.
Alderman Rucker.
Here.
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderman Morose.
Here.
Alderman Osteen.
Here.
Alderman Hoffman.
All right. We do have a quorum. Alderman Hoffman did tell me that he had to take his son to the airport. He should be here around 7 o'clock, so he'll be here joining us later. And
Maybe we'll
I'd
be
like
done
to...
by then.
I'm sorry?
Maybe we'll be done by then.
We might be. We might be. And also, I wanted to welcome, we have Mayor Newberry from Lake Ozark out in the audience tonight, so thanks for attending tonight. So, appreciate it. All right, we're going to start with the citizens' communications. This is a time set aside. I'm sorry? You're good?
We're not on Facebook Live yet.
Oh, we're not Facebook Live. Do we need to wait? All right, this is a time set aside on the agenda for citizens and visitors to address the mayor and board on any topic that's not a public hearing. For those here in person, speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes unless otherwise permitted. Minutes may not be donated or transferred from one speaker to another. Visitors attending via online will be in listen-only mode. Any questions or comments for the mayor and the board may be sent to the city clerk at tberreth@osagebeach.org no later than 10 a.m. on the board meeting day, the first and third Thursday of each month. Submitted questions and comments may be read during the citizens communication section of the agenda. The Board of Aldermen will not take any action on any item not listed on the agenda, nor will it respond to questions, although staff may be directed to respond at a later time. The mayor and the Board of Aldermen welcome and value input and feedback from the public. Is there anybody who would like to speak to the board? All right. Seeing none, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. We have the minutes from the Alderman meeting of July 6, 2023, June 27, 2023, the special Board of Aldermen meetings, and the bills list and the liquor license. Before we get to that, we do have one question on the bills list. So
Yes,
clarification.
Mayor, Board of Aldermen, I would like to add one invoice to the bills list this evening. Don't normally do that, but the city received its sewer truck this week, and we just missed the cutoff for the bills list, and would like to have that invoice added to the bills list. It is to Armor Equipment, invoice number 11026, in the amount of $493,669.70.
All right. Any comments or questions from the board? Chief, is the liquor licenses all in order?
Yes, sir.
All right. Seeing no comments or questions, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Alderman Rucker, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Morose, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, consent agenda is approved. We only have 3 items on unfinished business tonight. First is Bill 23-58. It's an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, adopting an amendment to the zoning map of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, rezoning and parcel for a land described in rezoning case number 422. This is the second reading. City Planner Carrie Patterson, please.
Mayor, I have nothing further unless there are questions from the board.
All right, comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the second reading?
Motion.
Alderman Ross, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Morose, roll call, please.
Alderman Schuman.
Yes.
Alderman Rucker.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Morose.
Yes.
Alderman Osteen.
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman.
All right, second reading passes. Next, we have Bill 23-60, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, accepting Palisades Boulevard Street into the city inventory. Second reading. City Planner Carrie Patterson.
Nothing further other than we'll be happy to get this piece of property that we've been taking care of for a long time actually under our ownership.
All right,
So,
very good. Any other comments or questions from the board? Do I have a motion to approve second reading?
Move.
Alderman Schuman, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Rucker, roll call, please.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman? Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. Last item of business, unfinished business, Bill 23-62, an ordinance of the City of Osage Beach, Missouri, authorizing the purchase of private property for a shoulder improvement project on Bluff Drive for the amount of $25,000. Second reading, Assistant City Administrator Mike Welty, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing further to add unless there's any questions.
All right, board comments or questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve second reading?
So moved.
Alderman Morose, do I have a second?
Second.
Alderman Ross. Roll call, please.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman? Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
All right, second reading passes. All right, the only thing we have on new business, we have a discussion on the Parks Master Plan timeline discussion. Parks and Recreation Manager, Barry Gregory.
Test.
Use the handheld.
Get in the handheld,
There
please.
we go.
Make sure it's on.
Hello, test.
It's working. There you go.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and members of the board. I think Tara's exact words to me were keep it short and sweet tonight, so I will do my best to keep Tara happy.
Raise your
Sorry.
volume, please.
Okay,
Or maybe the handheld.
try that.
It's not on.
Maybe not.
You're already screwing up your timeline.
Just talk real loud.
Make this work. Okay. Okay, as you know, the Parks Master Plan was completed in January of 2023 by Ballard Canning Associates and Cochran Engineering.
Not acceptable.
Okay, is that dead?
I can barely hear you.
Can't hear me?
And we have people in the audience that can't either. So our listeners at home can't for sure.
Okay, I can try louder. As you know, the Parks Master Plan was completed in January of 2023 by Ballard King Associates and Cochran Engineering. Ballard King conducted a market assessment of the area, which included demographics, participation statistics, and trends. Also included input from Parks Department, city managers, economic development section, and most importantly, the public. The result, in my opinion, was a very well-done Parks Master Plan, which will serve as our guide or roadmap for many years to come for the future of park improvement projects. I did print copies of the Parks Master Plan presentation, which was presented to the board in December for all of you to refer to if you want to. So tonight I'm presenting to the board my recommendation for the project timeline as your Parks and Recreation Manager. This is not a surprise. Each of you joined me for a park tour back in the spring, and we discussed one of the first projects that I wanted to do at that time. I am in contact with playground companies, splash pad companies right now because my first project is the all-inclusive playground, splash pad, and shelter at Phoenix Park. I do plan to include specific pricing for the entire project on my 2024 budget, which we'll review in the October 24th budget workshop. So referring to the timeline, we can just go down through this real quick. As far as 2024, Phoenix Park, and again, a lot of this is straight from the master plan. The All Abilities Playground, Splash Pad, Pavilion, and restrooms, which will take the place of Ball Field 1. This will transition Phoenix from a sports park focused into family-friendly outdoor recreation only, and we can shift our sports park focus to City Park at one location.
Oh, yes, a whole
Better?
lot better.
Better? Okay.
100% better with the
Okay.
mic.
Reasoning for this, the city does currently not offer a splash pad to residents. And All Abilities Playground and Splash Pad will be a regional draw, very popular for residents and seasonal visitors. As a matter of fact, there's no splash pads anywhere in this area. You got to go to Jeff City or Springfield, honestly, And this is a safer alternative for families that want to enjoy outdoor water features, but maybe not comfortable with a crowded pool. And to add to that, tournament directors do not like using Phoenix Park for overflow due to lack of parking and only our 200-foot fence on Field 1. As a matter of fact, if they do utilize Phoenix, they usually use Field 2. So they only use Field 1 if they have to. As far as our next timeline, 2025, I was trying to stick with low-hanging fruit. I know a lot of these projects are very pricey, according to the estimates from Cochran Engineering. But the City Hall Dog Park, this would be to construct a dog park at city-owned acreage adjacent to City Hall. Reasoning for this, currently there's no dog parks located within the city limits of Osage Beach. To be quite honest, the only dog parks in the area, you have one at Four Seasons, Village of the Four Seasons, and you have one behind the Lynn Creek Vet Office. Both are fine. I don't want to speak illy of either one of them. They're an option, but there's nothing within the city limits of Osage Beach. I'm in the parks every day. We frequently receive requests from our visitors. I talk to them every day. This has been very relevant in the last 6 months. The park staff have really started to ask people to abide by the ordinance to keep your dogs on a leash for safety reasons. It's been in place for many years. It just really wasn't enforced in the past. And so as part of that conversation, the subject of dog parks come up. So I think that this would be a great feature for the city. It'll be a safe location for visitors with the police department in close proximity. There's plenty of room for expansion in the future to add a playground or other improvements if we choose to do so. And to be quite honest, we can monitor usage here to help us determine whether or not we want to move forward with putting the dog park in Phoenix Park, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes. As far as 2026, I recommend City Park baseball field. If we move forward with Phoenix Park, we'll be losing a baseball field. This will, of course, replace Soccer Field 2. Per the master plan, will enhance competition space, provide opportunities for larger tournaments at a single location. As I said before, tournament directors do not like using Phoenix Park because of Field 1 size, lack of parking, logistics of running tournaments at 2 different locations. The city clearly does more rentals and sporting events with diamonds, hence the focus of the master plan recommendations. The soccer fields, unfortunately, are underutilized. As I've mentioned before, I've been the Parks and Rec manager for the city for 14 months, a little over a year. We've had one group approach us about possibly doing a soccer tournament. We were excited, and then we followed up and we never heard anything. Other than that, they're rented for very small events, but nothing to utilize them as soccer fields. 2027, Phoenix Park Dog Park Field 2. Recommends converting Phoenix Park Baseball Field 2 into Destination Dog Park. This will feature areas for both small and large dogs and will have water features and shade available. We'll complete the transition of Phoenix Park into a family-friendly outdoor recreation only, and will establish Phoenix as a destination park. If City Hall Dog Park is approved and constructed, this will be convenient for Osage Beach citizens having a dog park on both sides of the bridge. 2028, and this was difficult for me. As a matter of fact, Mitch and I had several conversations about this on what to recommend first, the dog park or the lakefront improvements. But at the end of the day, I felt that the dog park was more important because we could transition Phoenix completely into family destination park. But 2028 City Park lakefront improvements, I think we can all agree that the lakefront is a hidden gem. The project calls for constructing an asphalt roadway, parking lots, a 30 by 70 pavilion and a smaller 30 by 30 pavilions, restrooms, a kayak canoe launch area. As the area is improved, becomes more popular, additional parking will absolutely be needed, and this will be an extremely popular area for special events and outdoor recreation. In the interim, I am moving forward with improving the area on a smaller scale. I'm already taking steps to possibly start a watercraft operation next year. That will be on the 2024 budget as well, so just an FYI. And lastly, 2029, City Park, Pond, Boardwalk, and the Hilltop Shelter. And the project calls for construction of a boardwalk along the south side of the pond and a 30 by 50 pavilion and parking lot above the retaining wall in City Park. These will be great features for the park. People will enjoy them, but I thought in the grand scheme of things and compared to all of the other projects, this probably last on the list. I do recognize there will be significant costs with these projects, but in my opinion, and based upon input from all of you during our meetings, based upon input from Gina and Mike, Osage Beach's Parks has been in the business of catering to out-of-town people for many years. It's been in the business of diamonds and rectangles, catering for our tournament directors for weekend tournaments. I'm not wanting to stop doing that. We have very nice facilities for this, and it brings in significant revenue to the city of Osage Beach. The participants of the tournaments, they stay in our hotels, they eat in our restaurants, they bring a lot of money to it. So again, I want to emphasize, I don't want to stop that. But honestly, take away our ball fields and our soccer fields, what do we have to offer families in our city parks? We have a couple of small playgrounds. We have some shelters. We have a nice basketball court in Phoenix, but in the grand scheme of things, we really don't have a lot to offer our families. And we need to start catering to the citizens of Osage Beach and offer more family-friendly recreational opportunities, in my opinion. That's the direction I want to go with our city parks. So, that being said, that's all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right. Comments, questions from the board? Alderman Rucker.
Short and sweet as possible, but
I tried.
anyway.
I tried.
How many dollars do you need each year?
Well,
That's, I mean, because that's obviously going to have, even though that's a good plan, I don't have a problem with the plan. I can personally see some of the years where we couldn't complete everything at this point because, number one, we don't know how much revenue we're going to get from that future tax that we've placed on the marijuana facilities. So that's kind of, we've got some guess, but that's still unknown. So I just wondered what kind of dollar figures you're looking at each year. And are you escalating that money to where it's today's money, or is it 24, 25, 26, and 27's money?
I can't give you an answer to that. The pricing that's in the master plan by Cochran Engineering is an estimate based upon today's dollars. And I want to emphasize, this is just a recommendation. We can space it out, do a project, take a break for a year. It's whatever the board wants to do. But, the dollar amounts they're recommending today obviously will be more expensive 3-4 years down the road. And, the master plan is a guide. It's not, we can deviate, we can go smaller, we can do any number of things. But as a whole, I think it is a very good plan and it is a very good direction we need to go
Well,
with.
I think it gives us, it gives us a pecking order at least. I mean, I would have been happy with 1 through 50, so to speak, rather than year by year, but that's okay. Either way, it serves me what I want to see, a pecking order of what you consider to be the number 1 project, the number 2 project, number 3, and whether we get those first 4 projects done in 24 or half in 24 and half in 25. That's the only thing I'm looking at, from that perspective. If you had done any work on that, or are you leaving that to the bean counting people of the organization?
No, I've been in contact with quite a few playground companies and quite a few splash pad companies, and just throwing out an example, the best price I've seen on a installed splash pad to fit the footprint of what Cochran Engineering recommends was less than $200,000. And I knew nothing about splash pads, but having researched, it's not a bad price. So
Cheaper than I thought.
playgrounds, you get what you pay for. We can have something similar to what we have for $30 to $40, $50,000 and go all the way. I mean, $1 million. It's amazing what they can do. So I've picked out some that I like. I'm still receiving recommendations from these companies. And again, it'll be on the budget, so.
I think, Alderman Rucker, the plan is to add these items, assuming the board discussion goes well today, to the capital asset spreadsheet by year, put the estimated current dollars on that spreadsheet, and then have those budget estimates updated for every year's budget. So what we will do is we will take all of the research that Eric has done on the things that we want to budget for in '24, give them to our engineers, have them dial that in a little bit better, even though really it's only a few months old, and then bring that information to the budget workshops to be reviewed during that time period when you have all of the dollars for everything in front of you. So I think that's kind of the plan. And then obviously, as you had said, the rest of it's going to be today's dollars until we kind of freshen those budgets up every year as we go through the process that we do every year for budgeting for the next year.
Eric, I was going to say, I love it, but we talked, I don't know, it was the Cochrane who said it or somebody else that did their presentation. I'd asked them, do we have any idea what kind of income revenue generating we have? I know we have the kayaks or whatever, but did they do any research on what revenue we can expect over this time period?
I think in the master plan, there were some estimates, but, these are all new projects, and there's a lot of unknowns here. I can speak from experience. I started a watercraft operation, one of the state parks that I managed, and we started out with a few boats, and 8 years later, the equipment pays for itself, honestly, if you look at it that way, the first season. And then we were generating in excess of $35,000 in revenue per season.
Good. Okay.
It's very profitable if you do it right. So I'm confident we could do the same thing here. But that's, again, just an estimate. 20 boats, too. I don't think we'll have 20 boats. So everything else, I don't have an answer for you.
Okay.
But the more facilities you have, the pavilions are rented out quite a bit. If you build them, people will rent them.
Yeah.
So,
Very good. I love it.
yeah.
Other comments? Alderman Ross.
Well, I think the approach, appreciate you prioritizing, and I think is the first couple of years here, I have no concerns with it as far as how we're trying to prioritize within the recommendations of the master plan. But on a more macro scale, this is $2 million a year round numbers, okay, at this point. And I don't know where we've got $2 million laying around that we don't have a need for right now. And so that's the reality we have to look at. I don't really know. I mean, there was a $400,000 to $600,000 comment in the comments in the blue sheet or whatever you call it about, and I don't think that even the first years is going to fit in with that, but I could be wrong. Do we have any idea? The 2024 would fit within that $450,000 to $600,000.
That was just in the blue sheet that.
Right. I'm just asking if that first year even fits within that, or is we're going to have to expect significantly more? Do we? I mean, I know it's not $2 million each year exactly, but the whole thing over whatever it is, 6 years, because this is a 6-year plan, is around $2 million. That's round numbers, but the question is do we have any idea what year one? Do we have any idea?
The only answer I have for you is what is on the presentation there. If you flip back.
I don't see that it's there, but maybe I'm missing it because it was kind of broke up.
Page 86, 85, 86, 87, but it's not broke out by project year. It's kind of all lumped together. So Alderman Ross, if you would like, we can probably pull those numbers out and get them to you or get them to the board.
I didn't see that. I was looking at this deck and I didn't see that in there, so I apologize. I can figure that out for myself. I can add them up. So I have no problem going down this path where, as always, the budget processes, we have to make puts and calls. I think the approach to be quite honest, I think the approach to leave City Park alone for a couple of years is a good idea. We've got some opportunities there that we may or may not be able to pursue. We talked about that as strategic planning, updating some information and so forth. So I thought, in my mind, I have no concerns with this, but to suggest that we're going to be able to fund the first year's projects may not be, that's yet to be determined is all I can say.
That's understandable, and I realize that this may be an aggressive timeline, but I'm the parks guy, so,
You
and
don't
I
get it if
will.
you don't ask, right?
Nothing wrong with that.
I would like to
Got to
throw
start
in.
out with square one. We got to start out with some numbers
sir.
somewhere.
Cole and I have had been conversations too, and we do think that some of the playground costs can be offset through fundraising and donations from local companies. Quite confident with that.
I was actually, the conversation started because my family and I were at a park in Lake St. Louis, and it was older, probably a 2005-ish, because they had dates on everything. It was 2005, 6, 7, and every single piece of equipment in there had a donated by plaque on it. That from the merry-go-round to the enormous, I mean, probably at least as big, if not bigger than what we're talking about, Jungle Gym complex with multiple slides and all this other stuff. And it was donated by the DECA class of whatever from Zumwalt South High School, and something, the grading was all donated by, some contractor. The number of things they were able to get donated, the benches were donated by Lowe's, Home Depot, So, I think there are components of it, at least the visible stuff, the tangible stuff. We've talked about, I think we could put on really a heck of a push, because this is stuff that's going to be there for 20, 30 years. And if you're talking about, members of the community wanting to donate something, here's something that everybody's going to see that they supported their community. So, that's something that I've told Eric I'd be more than happy to help him, to work with him on and kind of put together a fundraising campaign to help offset some of these very large numbers on page 86.
The other thing to remember too is that Phoenix Park is a Land and Water Conservation Fund park, and therefore we are eligible for the LWCF 50/50 grant that we will be going after basically every year that we will be doing anything at Phoenix Park. So, obviously very doubtful we would get it every year, but I think there's a good chance that we could get some grant funds to assist with a lot of these costs.
It's my opinion. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kelly.
No, go ahead.
Speaking about Phoenix specifically, you put a destination playground in there, you put a splash pad, which, again, I mentioned this, we don't have a splash pad in this area, and transition Field 2 into a very large dog park. When people think of Osage Beach, that's going to come up. Mitch and I were just talking about this earlier. So I really think there's a lot of potential there, and I think the master plan recommendations are spot on. So I hope we can move in that direction. But go ahead.
Alderman Schuman.
I am very happy to see that you put PNIC as one of the first priorities because, my kiddos did the baseball, the t-ball and stuff this summer. And I know that some people might not realize we lost the big wooden structure there. We lost the merry-go-round. So now we have, I think, 2 or 4 swings and a very small playground complex that is actually meant for younger children. So in between games or while this sibling's playing in this one, there's not a lot for kids to do. And that park also used to draw from neighboring businesses. I know my child's playground is near there, or their daycare is near there. They used to go and visit it. They don't anymore because their equipment there is about the same. And at our city park, our equipment, it's good equipment. It's just not really for a multitude of ages. So it is nice to bring something to that area. I've talked to several other parents, asking them about our parks and stuff, and they're just, well, we don't really go because there's not a lot to do. If you go to the Camdenton Park, their park, very long park, they have several different playground sets. There's a lot to do. You can be there for a long time. So I think it is great to bring something to kind of fix what we lost, and having this be the initial breakout. And like Cole said, with the donations and stuff, I know that we can probably get quite a bit there, but it would be nice to have a designated area. Like I took my kids this weekend to City Park to ride their bicycles, and there was plenty of room for that, but we didn't play on the playground because there was a ball tournament in, and there was about 10 kids on the playground already, and it was full. So that's about all you can have. So, you can't really do birthday parties and stuff there. There's not. So it would be really great to have an area that multiple people can go to have their children to play, because right now our parks just don't offer that in the playground sense. And the All Abilities, I know Eldon, I believe it is, has it has like a mommy and me swing. It's a swing that faces that, so you can put the baby in and you can sit here and you can swing and see the baby. And there's all kinds of stuff. I know there's wheelchair swings. I love the idea of it being an all abilities so that many people can enjoy it. So I'm loving that PNIC was on towards the top of the list to get kind of everything kicked off and started.
Alderman Rose?
I concur with Alderman Schuman. I like the fact that the splash pad and the dog park is number 1 and 2 in priority. I'm also looking at Peanut Park as far as we may need, obviously, as time goes on with the splash pad, of more lighting, which I saw was on the list, and the refurbishing of the restroom. I don't know what that situation is, but if that's right there, then of course more people will be there, and that'll have to be taken in consideration. But you've done a marvelous job with your due diligence. And you know, we can only do so much, as you know, as finances provide, but that's exciting to even think that there's some more things for families to go to our park and to enjoy. Thank you so much.
Alderman Osteen?
I actually have 3 items. The first one is a question. I'm just curious, are there any parts of any of these projects that we can't effectively begin this year?
Not necessarily in the master plan projects. Again, I'm starting other projects on my own, like a very small scale. We're doing cosmetic improvements to the bathroom in PNIC right now. We've replaced all the toilets. We're putting in new hand dryers. We painted the outside of it. So again, that's very small scale. I recently purchased canoes for the watercraft rental operation. I'm getting pricing together and logistics on how we're going to do that. You will be seeing the Frisbee golf course on a future meeting agenda. That is less than $10,000 and will be constructed with volunteers. You know, we are looking at, again, smaller things, picnic sites. We don't really have any picnic.
Trying to fast track some of the smaller pieces.
I can do that this year. That's, you know, after our tournament season, we've already got a list of projects we want to do on a smaller scale. So, yeah, I want to move in the direction, and we are moving in the direction of improving this parks, but just not on this scale.
Okay. My second item is more or less my personal opinion or observation. I would like to see the lakefront improvements at the city park higher up on this list.
Okay.
I mean, the notes state verbatim that it is the hidden gem of the city park, and we're all aware of that. It is also the most unknown and underutilized part of the park. I'm not saying that we need to move the whole project up in this list, but maybe parts of it, such as the access to the park, clearing the vegetation, making it more appealing, et cetera. Smaller parts of that, they're going to be less costly, therefore to make that part of the park more accessible, more desirable for use, et cetera. Because I hate the idea of, when we look at this master plan, thinking, okay, well, in 5 years, we're going to address the park area, the water access. I would like to be able to do something now to, you know what I'm saying, to get more utilization of that part of the park.
No, we do plan to do that. We're already cleaning up the area. If you've been down there recently, we've mowed it all down and starting to clean it up. And next week, we're going to work on the picnic sites and get those cleaned up. And so, no, that is the plan until we can do something like a shelter or everything else. So you're absolutely right. A lot of people don't even know it's there. It's a beautiful area. So we want to draw attention to that and let everybody use it. So.
Okay. My third item, I'm just curious, this is more or less maybe a question for Cochrane Engineering, but I'm curious on, as these projects are being undertaken, how that's going to affect the use of other parts of those areas. I.e., if this part of this project is being developed, say, in the summer months, does that mean we're not going to have access to parts of this park or be able to utilize the fields at this park because we're expanding on them or transitioning them to something else? I'm just curious on how this is going to affect the use of the parks as this is being completed. Cochrane Engineer, once again, will probably be able to give us a more effective idea on that.
I'm sure they can, and it's all about timing too.
Yeah.
My hope would be that we do a lot of these projects in the off season, so it's not to affect the usage in the summertime or affect our tournament season. So I think that would probably be the plan.
And that's what I'm curious about. Is
Yeah.
is this basically spring, fall project, and basically everything comes to a grinding halt for the summer months, so we're not losing or impacting our existing facilities? Or
My
I'm
preference
just curious on how that's going to work.
Yeah. My preference would be off-season projects to have these ready for the upcoming season, but it doesn't always go that way. We're going to try to impact the public as least, little as we can, so.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
I'd just like to say that I think you've given us a good first step, or second step, or third, wherever. I mean, the first step was the master plan that we did, but, where we took it from all that to this point here. And now it's ready for us to start scrunching the numbers out and seeing what numbers we've got. And I think you did a very good job of giving us the information we needed, Eric. Thanks.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. Eric, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. All right, next we're going to move on to staff communications. Assistant City Administrator, Mike Wilde.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to give some updates on just a few things here. I'll try to be quick. First of all, I want to thank the board for their patience with me. I'm sure that Alderman Osteen was rolling his eyes at the size of the emails that I sent out in reference to the sewer station problems. But I honestly feel like it was just better that I gave as much detail as I could with those issues, because I want to make sure that the board understands exactly what we were doing and why we were trying to do it. So I appreciate your patience with that. I also want to thank the board for the prompt response. Everything is in motion now, and I expect that you're going to start to see the contractor really start to work on this station in earnest by the end of this week and beginning of next week. Our hope is that we can get this stuff all resolved within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and then move on and kind of reimagine the lift station improvement project that we had originally done to kind of get some of the stuff that was not an emergency done at a later date. So appreciate everybody's promptness on that, and expect to see an agenda item on the next board meeting that kind of goes over everything in detail and kind of blesses everything from an ordinance standpoint. So expect to see that. Yes, sir?
So do we know yet where the money's coming from?
As far as I know, it would be coming from, no, I don't. That'll be a question for Gina.
All right.
All right, number two, we did receive the bids for the Veterans Memorial. Unfortunately, we only received one bid. That bid was around $248,000. It was way, way, way higher than what we ever expected it to be. Obviously, I asked the city administrator to reject that bid, and we have rejected that bid. We're going to do a couple of things to try and redo this project. We're going to reach out to the contractor that did bid on it and kind of get some ideas on why he bid it the way he did, and then kind of try and redo this in the fall and try again for construction in the spring. So very unfortunate. I've already been in contact with the Elks Lodge. They totally understand why we did what we did. It's just too high of a price tag for us to spend on that. So that's where we are with that. ATS switches. At the last board meeting, we talked a lot about this. Alderman Ross brought up his concerns. I think the whole board was concerned for this. I want to give you an update. So first of all, thanks to our new sewer superintendent, Nathan Erb, who I do have here tonight to introduce to everybody, we were able to kind of assess everything and kind of get a good idea of where we need to go. The two most important ones for Rockway and Sands have already been ordered, and they will be installed. New ones will be installed in mid-August. The rest of them, while we know that they don't work, one of them works, the rest of them do not. We don't really know why they don't work. So we have contacted Clifford Control or Clifford Power, which is a company that we use for maintenance on our generators, and they're going to come out and they're going to do an assessment and identify whether the ones that we have can be repaired or whether we need to replace the other ones. So that's kind of where we are with that. A lot of positives there because we are going to get two fixed right away and move towards fixing the rest of them, if not later this year, then as soon as we possibly can. And then last Last but not least, as I mentioned, we do have Nathan Earp here today. Wanted to introduce him as our new sewer superintendent. Nathan and I have already done some interviews, and we are very pleased to announce that we're going to be making an offer to another new employee. We haven't made that offer yet, but that offer is forthcoming. We continue to accept applications for our other open tech positions and are seeing some applications come in and are probably going to be scheduling more interviews to come. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Along that line, if I could, sewer foreman, do we have application, or is that position where the offer's for, or is it for technician?
The offer that is out is for technician. We did do some interviews for sewer foreman. We have a possible candidate, and as soon as Jeannie gets back, we're going to look at doing a second interview on that possible candidate and see if that will work and be positive and move forward with it. If not, we'll go back to square one and keep interviewing.
Okay. Thank you very much. City Clerk, Tara Barrett.
I don't think I have anything. Oh, I have a clerks meeting tomorrow. All the clerks, central clerks divisions are coming here. And we have about 20 of them coming. And the mayor's gonna talk. And so that's pretty much all I got.
Very good.
Oh, I love our new front desk. First, Carrie and I love her. She's great. Doing really well. I'm so excited. She picked it up fast. So, yeah, I love her a lot.
Very good.
That's
Wow.
it. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, City Treasurer, Carrie Bell.
Okay. Couple of things. My list item is to kind of track the forensic item at Camden County. They're currently in progress, and I haven't actually had much success reaching out directly to the county, but thanks to the update from the Special Road District, I'm being told that still we're kind of in a holding pattern. There's not any current updates. And the reason we are tracking that, a reminder of why we care about that, is twofold. We do receive receipts from the county every year for property tax that go into the transportation fund. And secondly, is because of some of our challenges associated with TIF receipts on the property tax side. So those are the two reasons we're following this, and depending on the outcome, I'll make recommendations on what to do after that. Thank you for letting me be out of the office for a few days last week. Myself and April White were able to because of our proximity, we get to take advantage of some training that normal city treasurers might not. Me and April went over to Margaritaville and took advantage of the Missouri Association of Public Employees Retirement Systems. And they have just really outstanding speakers. One was Andy Faskow, former CFO from Enron, that talked about ethics for business, and just a whole slate of really great speakers. Thank you for that. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. City Attorney Cole Bradbury.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. I also got to go to Margaritaville last week and over the weekend, Missouri Municipal Attorneys Association meeting. Lots of interesting tidbits. You're going to see some upcoming updates to some of our ordinances based on some of the kind of best practices and things that they threw out. Also, the city is sending me to California for a conference in September, an early part of October. And the MMAA, or I won the MMAA scholarship to go, so we'll be saving the city about $1,000 courtesy of MMAA, which is part of MML. The only other updates I have, the Tantera Estates, I've dove into the Tantera Estates sewer issue, the rate plan, master plan. I have begun a very lengthy memo to you, and it is going to be very lengthy. So if any of you have trouble sleeping at night, once you get this, you won't. Lots of interesting details in there. There's going to be some tough decisions for us ahead, but I have what I believe is so far some positive news, but there's a lot of rabbit holes to explore first. And then last but not least, the burned out house on Stone Ledge. We have that hearing here, 2 o'clock on Wednesday next week. You are all more than welcome to attend. It's a public hearing. And that will be a dangerous building hearing to determine whether or not the building needs to be repaired or demolished. And with that, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Chief Davis.
I did not get to go to Margaritaville last week. But as everybody knows, we had the plane crash last week. I want to commend our crews, communications, police officers, and the ambulance. They all did a great job responding to that, trying to locate that. And unfortunately, it turned out the way it did. No, I just went blank. I had something else I was going to say. Oh, and I will be out of the office tomorrow and Monday. I'm actually supervising night shift the next 3 nights. So if you need me, you can reach me on my cell phone, but I'm going to try to sleep tomorrow during the day. We'll see how that works. But that's all I got.
All right, thank you very much. Economic Development Specialist, Mitchell Moon.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. All is going very well in the Economic Development Department. Tara and I have been getting together this week, and we'll continue our conversations next week regarding the business retention and expansion program, which Gina has requested us to look into. So we got some good things coming. Hopefully by the next meeting, we can report some movement on that project, and further advice from the city administrator. We'll keep moving that project along. Past that, the mayor and I have had some very good conversations with some individuals this past week. So hopefully, again, good news to come in the future regarding economic development and local business here in Osage Beach.
All right, thank you very much. I've not met you yet, but welcome aboard, Nathan Earp.
Thank you.
Would you have anything to say?
I don't.
All right, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Michael Ray.
A couple of updates for you. Loggers, I'm waiting for a response on a couple of questions I had regarding some of those plans. I wanted to make sure that I understood it a little bit more before bringing it to the board. And then also, our employee survey is being finalized and should be ready for rollout late next week.
Very good. All right, City Planner Kerry Patterson.
Appreciate the two decisions tonight, the finalization of the rezoning for the Oasis, which obviously give us the final go-ahead from a zoning perspective for them to start their amusement park portion of the development. And I'm quite sure that Mr. Dinky will be excited to know he doesn't have to pay taxes on that piece of property anymore. So we can go from there. Other than that, I don't have anything further, so I'll give it back to the mayor.
All right, thank you. Eric Gregory, Parks.
When it's red. Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to say thanks and a shout out to the Water Department. I'm happy to say that they completed trenching and installation of the water line to the maintenance shop today. I believe that we're going to activate the water hopefully tomorrow. We'll have a frost-free spigot in place. Unfortunately, we received one bid back for the bathroom addition. It was extremely high, and we kind of think more than likely it's going to be rebid in the wintertime. Per a discussion earlier today, construction companies have a lot of work going on right now, and they don't need the extra work, is our opinion. So we're hopefully going to be more successful with the bidding process this winter when it's a little slower. So that'll be up to Mike, but I think that's what we kind of decided to do. Other than the topic we discussed earlier, we are working on budget items for the park. I mentioned Frisbee golf. I'm waiting on an estimate for materials from the volunteer group, which I think is going to be in next week, and that will be on the budget as well. I think it's going to be a very popular addition to City Park. We're going to try, if approved by the board, we're going to try a 9-hole course to start out with, see how it's done, and then maybe transition to an 18-hole.
Where's that going to be, Eric?
So if you're looking at the pond from the parking lot, it's going to be up on the right.
Okay.
When you get up into that tree line, it's actually not exactly level, but it's very clear, and it'll be easier to construct. So, and it will be constructed with park staff and volunteer staff. So not a complicated project. Researching watercraft rental operations, I mentioned that. A lot of special events planning right now. We have the Fishing Derby coming up in August. And in September, we have the Fall Food Truck Festival. which I think they just opened registration for that. We also have the city rummage sale in September. And this year, the new thing with that is we're going to have it in City Park instead of City Hall. We think that's going to be much more popular. We'll have a lot more room for spaces, and we could open the concession stand and have music thanks to our new sound system. So, and then of course Fall Festival in October with the Dragon Smoke Barbecue competition. So we're working on that, and other than that, daily maintenance and tournament season. That's about all.
Good. All right, Alderman Rucker.
I have nothing.
What?
I said it all on Zoom last time.
All right, Alderman Schuman.
I actually have nothing either.
All right, Alderman Osteen.
Oh, boy.
You just want to get out of here before Hoffman gets here.
I just want to apologize for my lack of attendance and involvement with the city for the last few weeks. Some of you...
It's all good, man.
It's okay. Have had a series of unfortunate family events. So it's been a lot to deal with. So I'm not going to get into too much detail. Some of you know it's like a script from a bad movie. Just the bad news keeps on coming. So I'll pull it together real quick. I lost 2 family members in the last 2 weeks. I've got a third who's on life support, and they do not believe she will live another 24 hours due to injuries she sustained in an auto accident. So it's just a lot to deal with. I know there's been some concern that perhaps I was going to resign from my position from the board because of what I'm dealing with, but unfortunately, you're stuck with me. I may not be as involved as I have been in the past, but I do plan on getting back on track in the future. So thank you for your support.
God
That's
bless
all.
you.
Alderman Morose.
I have nothing.
Alderman Ross.
Without a doubt, we got you covered. I'm glad you're here.
Yes, yes.
And secondly, all I have is I just want to recognize Mitchell Phillips, who works in transportation, and I think, do I have that right, Mike? And does the inmates, prisoners, offenders, whatever the magic word is?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
Right? I got an opportunity to talk to him down on 3 Seasons. Doing a great job. It's a unique gig and makes a lot of difference in some of the streets and so forth around here. I just hope that we have a van that, right now I wouldn't put anyone in that van, but you guys keep doing it, so do what you do. But I hope that that van is here quicker rather than later, because I'm surprised we still put employees in it. I'll leave it at that.
All right. All right, I just have a couple, 3 things. I too was at Margaritaville last week, but there was no meeting involved. No, and we are doing something, we talked about this for a while on KMS Radio, 9:30 every Monday, we're gonna call it Mayor Monday, and it's about 20 minutes, and the whole thing is about transparency, letting people know what's going on in the city, invite phone calls. They asked me what I thought transparency was, and I said it's honesty. It's just being open and honest with the community. There's so many things that happen out there on social media that are not true, in the paper that are not true. The latest one, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but I don't respond normally, except somebody that tagged me and said, "Is this true, Mayor Harmison?" And apparently somebody wasn't happy with our local McDonald's, and they wish we had a Burger King, but they said we couldn't get a Burger King because one of the council members had 3 McDonald's, and they talked the other council members in voting not to get a Burger King. And so I was asked, is this true? And I simply said, no, fake news. But so, no, this whole, it's just about transparency. And let people know there's a lot of things that go on here in the city. And I ran because I thought I had problems with the city. And I said, if there's a valid complaint, we want to hear about it because we would like to fix it. But by the same token, maybe clear up some of the miscommunication out there. So feel free to listen, 9:10 every Monday morning. I said, unless I'm on vacation or something, but Mayor Monday on KMS Radio. So shout out to them as well. And then the only other thing, I wanted to thank Alderman Rucker. He probably doesn't know I'm going to thank him, but you know that he does a lot of cleanup for us and spends a lot of time going through ordinances and all sorts of things. He's been doing the same thing with our joint sewer board and taking a lot of time, and it's been necessary. It's things that's has been, I wouldn't say wrong, but it's things a long time ago that were written that needs corrected, and He's done the same due diligence, and it takes a lot of his personal time, so I just want to thank you for that as well.
Thank you.
So with that being said, if there's nothing else, do I have we are going to be going into executive session. So notice is now given that the agenda includes a roll call vote to close the meeting as allowed by RSMO Section 610.021, legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving a public governmental body and any confidential and privileged communications between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys. So do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Alderman Moreau, second. Alderman Ross, roll call, please.
Alderman Osteen?
Yes.
Alderman Hoffman? Alderman Schuman?
Yes.
Alderman Rucker?
Yes.
Alderman Ross?
Yes.
Alderman Morose?
Yes.
All right, this meeting is closed. Move into executive session. So thank you very much.
Mitch.